energy empowers us to use machines to be productive and prosperous, but only if we can afford it. So I think of it as like a private jet is an amazing machine, but it's cost prohibitive for most of us. The more expensive energy becomes, the more machines are like a private jet for people. So when they say, oh, we can create 100% renewable system, there's a question of whether you could physically do it but you cannot economically do it. And we should really focus on policies that require people to compete with low cost, reliable electricity. So my belief is solar and wind should be free to compete, but I think they should have to couple themselves with reliability. So either they combine themselves with like natural gas plants and they deliver a reliable product to the grid, or if you can do something with batteries, which for the reasons we're talking about, you cannot do right now. But I mean, one final point I think you mentioned the mining. I think this is a very revealing thing because it's not, the solar and wind movement is not actually enthusiastic about energy because they're hostile to fossil fuels. Well, hopefully we'll talk about nuclear. They're hostile to nuclear. They're hostile to hydro. Right. And they're hostile to mining. Because the whole idea is we should be eliminating our impact, but solar and wind require far more impact in terms of the face of the earth because they're dilute sources. Right. So you need huge amounts of mining, and then you need huge transmission lines and theoretically huge amounts of batteries. And huge amounts of heat to make all of course. Yeah, well, they have no idea of how that's going to... with solar and wind power. Well, I mean, there are imaginary ways. If you could scale it all, well, then you can do a lot of things with electricity, but it's just the cost. Yeah. It's the cost issue. But I really want to impress on people that the solar and wind movement, it's not the equivalent of someone has an amazing alternative to the iPhone and they're just promoting it on a free market. Yeah. It's like they're saying, we're going to destroy all the iPhones and trust us, we will replace it with this thing that's not working at all. And so I view it as the real focus is on eliminating our impact, and the enthusiasm for solar and wind is just a rationalization. Because again, it's 3% of the world's energy. It's parasitical. It needs to be promoted by the government. It just does electricity, which right now is 20% of the world's energy. And fossil fuels are 80% of the world's energy and growing.